Welcome to Wick-Splaining. My name is Chuck Wick, and with me I have my brother Paul Wick and our producer Caleb. We are going to be discussing political issues on the local, state, federal levels.
Can I talk?
I'm the host, so I'll do as much talking as I want.
I'm not sure I enjoy that.
Well,
you can argue about who's going to do more talking later. We have a show to do.
We're brothers. We're going to argue.
That's fine, but the people on the other end don't want to hear you guys arguing right now. They'd rather hear about a good conversation that you guys have planned for them.
All right.
You're right, Caleb. All right, Chuck, well, let's get to the topics.
Okay, we have a great show planned for everybody today. Today's topic is legalizing recreational marijuana in the state of Ohio. Currently, there is a bill that's being proposed in the Senate by several of our GOP senators to legalize marijuana in Ohio for recreational purposes. Now, there are several states that already have this. The bill that's being proposed to Ohio, though, is looking to allow 21 and older Ohioans to be able to purchase up to 2.5 ounces of marijuana and be able to grow up to 6 plants in their own home. The idea is that this will go to vote in November of 2022, and it will be called the Ohio Adult Use Act. They will levy a 10% tax on the sale of marijuana, and this will be used to fund programs for addiction, programs for the state to allow this medical marijuana to become recreational marijuana. The idea is that the medical marijuana dispensaries that are currently, supplying our residents here in Ohio will then turn into recreational dispensaries that will allow anyone to come in that has the right to be able to buy. So that's the idea of what's going on. Hey, Paul, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I'm not a big fan of marijuana because of a personal, it's not that I'm against anybody having it for themselves. That's fine. Mm-hmm. It's a plant. You can smoke it if you like. If you can eat it, if whatever, I don't even know all the entails that you can actually do with that.
Right.
I'm not that kind of a person. But not saying that is bad. I'm just saying that I smoked it. I didn't like it. It did not make me feel right. I did not enjoy it.
You did not inhale.
Actually, I was told that I inhaled too much. I smoked the hell out of it. And that's when I
didn't even know there was hell in it. Damn. I'm not doing it right. No, I'm kidding.
Very possible. But
I didn't know marijuana had heaven and hell sides.
Very possible. Very possible. I smoked too much of it apparently that day, and I was told that that might have been my bad experience with it.
Okay.
But
okay.
It's all good. I don't want to experience that again. I don't want to do it.
Okay.
But I don't want you to be incarcerated. I don't want you to jail just for smoking a weed. Something that comes out of the damn ground. I mean,
right.
It's not manufactured. There's no foreign substances in it. It's not chemical. It's not, it's organic. It really is.
Right.
And
it's a plant that comes from the earth.
Right.
Yes.
Now, I mean, if you commit some kind of felonious assault, some kind of, law, you're breaking laws, then that's fine. Go to jail for that.
Right.
Not for having had smoked a joint just because you decided to go and drive down to work. If you need first of all, if you need to smoke a joint to go to work, you may have to revisit your life before, we talk about actual marijuana. But I'm just saying, now, I'm not exactly for the law, but in my personal opinion, laws should be against something that is horrible for people. It should be against murder. It should be against assault. I go out and I come up to you, Caleb, and just beat you relentlessly with a bat.
Why me?
I'm just, you're there.
Yeah. Just a random act of violence?
Exactly, yes. If it's a random act of violence, I should go to jail.
If more people smoke marijuana, there would not be as many random acts of violence. Because you can't...
It could be.
If you've ever been high, you can't commit violence while you're high.
Well, just to quote the late, great, Robin Williams, because the Olympics back in 2001 or so, I can't remember which one it was, maybe it was 2000, the Winter Olympics, where they suspended the snowboarder because he tested positive for marijuana. It's like, that's not a performance-enhancing drug unless there's a bag of Cheetos at the end of the course.
Right.
Well, then he'll be down there.
I mean, the NFL did the same thing to Ricky Williams. They basically kicked him out because he kept testing positive for marijuana. And it's like, how is that helping somebody play football? I don't see that.
Well, football, I don't know.
It's not.
From my understanding of the science of the drug, and I hate to say science these days of age, but there actual is science out there.
He is not an actual scientist.
No.
Please don't fact check that.
And the science of the drug, it kind of slows your mind down. So if you're snowboarding down a mountain and it slows your mind down so you could actually see it like a slow-mo video, that could enhance your athletic ability.
It doesn't change the rate in which you're going down the mountain.
It does not. It does not.
You're still going down that mountain,
but your mind
at whatever speed you would have, whether you were high or not.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure your reaction time is
exactly
lower. So you're going to hit a bump and you're going to go flying.
Honestly, I would think it would do the opposite. I think it would slow your reactionary time down to the point where you're not reacting at the level you need to be, and then therefore putting yourself in some type of danger in that situation. And in the situation of doing like downhill skiing. Now, in the situation of like playing NFL football, I don't see where it changes really anything about what you're doing.
That's too quick.
It's everything is done so quickly.
You're hit so hard, so quick. It's 30 seconds.
The only thing I can think it would give you an advantage over is not feeling the pain as easily and as quickly.
Yeah, you're right.
As you would.
Could be a possibility.
If you were at that point, you would not be feeling as much pain. So getting hit, you would absorb that hit, be able to get back up and move along. And you may have an injury that you may not even know about at that time, and so later you find out that you have this.
Okay, it's just a flesh wound, I swear.
Well, I did not know that aspect of because I don't smoke. I don't know marijuana that well. I know the political aspects of it because politicians, unfortunately, for the most part, want to make you fear things.
They want to control everything.
Control your life. And in that, they want you to fear marijuana, even though it can help a lot of people,
Well, and I think it goes back to what the Republican senator for the state of Ohio, Ron Ferguson, said in this article I'm reading here. It says adults should be able to make decisions for themselves, and that's what this bill does. It's the Ohio Adult Use Act, which would legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana by extending the state's medical marijuana program to include recreational use when it comes to growing, processing, distributing, and selling marijuana for Ohioans who are 21 and older. I think the idea here is that it's not a harmful drug in the fact that it's not like heroin, it's not like cocaine, it's not crack, it's not like meth, fentanyl, any of these things that are overly abused in our society now. It's not like those. It's not debilitating to the point where you cannot function in society.
You're right.
It's in my opinion, it's no different. It has no different effect on your body than alcohol does. And alcohol is legal for anyone to get who's over 21.
And there are plenty of what you were saying, functional. There's plenty of functional alcoholics out there. People that drink before they go to work.
Right.
I mean,
and there's probably plenty of functional potheads too.
Again, they should probably reevaluate their life or get something together, but that's fine. But the 21, the age. It just amazes me that we have gotten so far. It was 21 for cigarettes wasn't even a thing for shit. That was what, 3 years ago or something. You know, it wasn't even that long ago that they raised the age to 21. I mean, we come from a world that, you know, cigarettes in Ohio is 21 now.
Oh, I didn't even know they had changed the age on cigarettes.
Yeah. It was only.
I thought it was 18.
It was not now.
No, it's 21 now.
Yeah, it's been a few years.
Learn something new.
I don't remember the exact year
it
went in, but it's 21 now, and that just kills me because like when I was 16, that became a law that 16-year-olds cannot possess tobacco. Mm-hmm. You couldn't even smoke a cigarette at 16. Mm-hmm. It was against the law.
Right.
So, not even buying it. It was just, if you had it in your possession, it was, you know, and that, you know, way back when, you know, years, generations, hundreds of thousands and millennia, you know, it's just crazy how we've come to the society of we're, as a government, are going to choose what is good and what is bad for you. And I just feel like when you tell somebody, and I have a 5 and a 3-year-old to back this up if you really want to hear from them. If I tell them no, what are they going to do? They're going to do that. They are going to do that.
Right.
Everything be damned. They are going to do whatever I told them to not do.
Yes.
And it gets worse as they get older. I mean, hell, when we were kids, when we were in our teens, if mom ever said anything to us to not do, what are we going to do? We're going to run out and see, what was that?
Yeah.
I might want to run down and check that out.
How does that work? What do you do
I'm
that?
pretty sure the only time you listened to your mom when she said don't do it is when she told you get your butt outside and don't make a noise if you wake your dad. Mm-hmm. That was the only time you were like,
Well, I agree. Wow. I agree to a certain extent that, you know, the age is kind of arbitrary. The age of 21 is not something I think that fits in development. Mm-hmm. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if we're going to continue to call 18-year-olds adults, then we should allow them to make the decisions that all adults can make. If you're not going to allow 18-year-olds to be,
then you have to raise the age.
You raise the age of adulthood.
I mean,
basically,
not
you call an adult a 21-year-old, not an 18-year-old.
Yes.
So it's like, you know, it's not the same thing.
And also on top of that, you cannot draft them in the military. They cannot enlist in the military.
That was going to be
they
my
do not.
Right there.
They do not leave their parents' house if they don't want to. You know, I don't know if they. You know, beyond that, it's like 18 has been a cornerstone in American society.
Well,
since
you and I were both in the military, so we know it's like, you know, if you can join the military at 18.
If you can die for your country,
and you can go, you can sign a blank check up to and including your life for our country. Then you should be able to make these decisions as well. I agree with that. But, you know, I mean, let's try to get back to the topic of marijuana here and not the age. But, you know, I feel like there are so many positive uses for marijuana that it can then become something that can improve society. I know it's just like alcohol. It's just like cigarettes. Mm-hmm. It's just like any other legal vice out there right now. People are going to over-abuse it. Okay?
Oh, yes.
No matter what you do, no matter how you try to regulate it, people are going to abuse it. You know, this is why we have so many people with DUIs. This is why we have so many people that, you know, end up with, you know, smoker's cough and all this stuff because they're smoking 2-3 packs of cigarettes a day. Yes. You know, you got people out there driving that shouldn't be driving because they're, you know, I mean, heck, I imagine there's accidents that happen because people are smoking and not paying attention to what they're where they're going.
Cig drops in your lap, and you're trying to get that bud out of your lap.
Or when the cigarette throws out the window, it comes back in the window. So
y'all be quiet back there.
to give you the full story of that one, I have to go into this.
Yes, tell it.
Okay, so me, my sister, or actually, I'm sorry, our sister Tara, and our mom and dad, mine Chuck's mom and dad, were driving down the road, and Dad's driving, Mom's in the passenger seat, I'm behind Mom, and then Tara, our sister, is behind Dad in the car. And we're driving down the road, and I have my window down, Mom has her window down, and she's smoking. You know, she smoked forever, and that happened.
Yep.
But she takes a last drag and then throws a cigarette out the window. Well, that cigarette came right back in my window. And I saw it and jumps over damn near on our sister Tara's lap. I mean, I think it was sitting on her lap at the time. I was like, oh, no. What the? And then Mom just turns around and says, quiet down there. Just sit down. Shut up. And the cigarettes burned a hole in the seat of the car. Now,
didn't you burn that car up though?
No. We sold that one.
That's not one of the two cars you caught on fire.
No.
Okay, I just thought I'd bring that up.
So
our Air Force mechanic caught two cars on fire.
And a car too.
One of them doesn't count because it wasn't in this country.
It was in England.
It was in England.
Was it on the base?
It was.
So that's our country.
No. American soil is only embassies overseas.
Oh, right.
It's
What's
not
the
base
considered then?
Actually, that was Royal Air Force Base.
Okay.
He was on a British base.
Okay.
Sorry, we got way off topic.
But
we had to bring it. I had to tell the story.
Yes,
so,
that was a great story. I laugh every time I hear it.
Oh, he wasn't there, so he gets to laugh his ass off.
It's great.
This.
It's
great. Yeah, you weren't there.
I wasn't there either, but it's still funny.
Oh my God, it was scary. I was like, age wise, I think I was maybe 7. And Tara was 9, and I mean, we were young children, and I don't want to say that. I need to say this. We had a great childhood.
Right.
We had a great childhood.
Right.
This is not a beginning of a story of misuse or abuse or anything. No, we had a great childhood.
That'll be for a later podcast.
We do not. No, stop it, Caleb. We had a great childhood. We really did.
Well,
our parents
it'll be a
provided
podcast about our childhood.
everything.
So.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. Nobody here was misabused or whatever. So medical marijuana, or any
try to get back on topic here.
And in that sense, it should not have a context of drug or paraphernalia. I can't even say that word. I hate that word because I can't say it.
Paraphernalia.
Thank you. So when you just leave illegal things in the country, make things illegal, you put this contest on it that you're going to go to jail. I mean, that is way too harsh of a punishment. That's my problem with marijuana being illegal.
That's part of what they're trying to do with this bill. One of the things that they're looking to do is end the marijuana prohibition. So basically, like I said, opening up everything so that, purchasing marijuana 21 years of and older, basically the same as alcohol is in the state of Ohio, will be available for everyone. The idea is that they want to also put in here where they're putting I can't remember what it's called. It's something to do with being able to allow people that have been convicted of crimes that have to do with marijuana.
Good.
That it would expunge their
if
records.
If there's nothing else,
it would go through and it would expunge their record. And
Get out of jail.
If they're in jail for basically only a marijuana charge, then they would be released.
Yes.
If they had something on their record that had to do with marijuana,
anything else,
it would be expunged from their record. It would not show up any longer.
Good. Yes.
The idea is that that it would go back. In retrospect, it would go back and take care of that. Those things have been wronged basically in the past. Which I agree with, and I agree with completely. I think that that's important, because if you're going to make something legal now, you can't punish people for something that. I understand the argument of, well, it was illegal at the time and they still did it, so they were still committing an illegal act. Yes. I understand that, but in the same respect, if it's maybe a little bit of a severe analogy here, but if you're talking about something like the purge, if you're going to allow any type of crime to be done, then you can't go back, and punish those people for what they did during that time. So It's like you can't go. You have to be able to change that, and go back and say, these people that did these things when this was wrong, it's not wrong any longer.
Well, it's been done though. Prohibition.
Right.
It was, you were not allowed to create, sell, or drink alcohol, and that was overturned. Yep. So I did not look that up.
Thank you, 21st Amendment.
Looked that up. If the people that were actually jailed for that were released, I did not look that up, so I have to look that up and get back to you.
We can get that information later.
It's the same fact. It's if you only went to jail for this weed, it just seems stupid that you would not get released if it was legalized.
Right. And I think the other thing is, it's allowing for mistakes that are in the past to be rectified, to allow these people to have a life outside of that. I've always thought that our jails are populated with people that aren't, for the most part, aren't violent criminals. And I think that a lot of the issues we have with overcrowding are based on the fact that we have a lot of nonviolent criminals sitting in prisons that don't need to really be there. There should be punishments. Don't get me wrong. There should be punishments for things that are committed that are crimes. But the people that should be jailed for long periods of times are people that are willing to commit violent crimes.
Yes.
Not crimes that don't harm anyone but themselves, or don't harm anyone outwardly, or intentionally. Those are things that need to be rectified.
More harsher opinion on that, but we may want to table that.
Okay.
To another.
Let's move on to the next section of this. Basically, it's talking about allowing for the cultivation and possession of marijuana. Mm-hmm. So what this is talking about is allowing for people to have a certain amount of marijuana on them, and allowing them to be able to grow a certain amount in their home for their own personal use. This is not something for them to be able to sell marijuana. This is not something for people to be able to make money off of this. Yeah. This is for your own personal use.
If I have a vegetable garden in my backyard,
right,
I have my vegetables.
Yeah. It's, if you want to grow marijuana in a big plant out behind your garage,
right,
should
be able to do so.
You should be able to do that, and that's the thing that would be changed there that would allow that to happen.
The only argument I might have against this is I can't walk down the street with a beer in my hand. That's open container. And
if you listen to our previous podcast, we had something about that.
Well,
that's what I said. Not yet.
In a certain area.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
But now you're allowing people with what used to be an illegal drug to walk down the street inhaling this illegal drug. Well,
so how is that different from a cigarette, though?
It's not. No.
Nicotine and tobacco have effects on the body as well.
Yeah,
but it's legal for anybody to walk down the street smoking a cigarette.
I think it should be extended as well to alcohol.
I don't know. I
don't.
I agree with the DORA, like our previous episode where we talked about DORA, and I agree with the areas where you can walk around with a cup and all that kind of stuff. That's great. I think that promotes business. I think there's functions there that make sense. Being able to just walk up and down the street with, a glass of whiskey in your hand, I think we're stepping into areas where people can really hurt themselves.
But this is where the other half of the argument against weed is coming into play. You know, they can bring this up like, so whiskey's not good, but if you're fine, if you are not a violent person on whiskey, and you have a good time and don't infringe on anybody else's, happiness or anything they're doing, then it's fine. But also weed, same thing. You said alcohol and weed kind of have the same effect.
Mm-hmm. It's not the same effect, but it's.
I'm saying I was
comparing it. I was comparing it because.
But this is where the argument comes into play,
right?
Because those people that are like, well, alcohol is available, it's allowed, it's legal. That's fine. That's great. So, where is the argument of you have weed establishments, not alcohol establishments? Right. You can only smoke here.
And there's, I agree. There is an impairment that comes with both of those drugs. You're talking about alcohol. You're talking about marijuana. Has a greater impairment in the fact that it takes away your ability to react. It takes away your ability to, be able to be present in the situation.
And a lot of people says that,
and a lot of people that's what they use it for. They're in a bar, they're drinking a lot, they're using it to escape their problems. Marijuana, I don't believe, unless you're using it in extremely large quantities, I don't believe that it has the same effect on the body. It's not going to impair you to the point where you cannot have a thought or be able to react to the situation that you're in.
Alcohol doesn't do that, though.
You react. On how much you drink.
You react. You do react.
Right.
There's a violent alcoholics out there.
Yes.
There's happy alcoholics.
But I've never heard of a violent pothead.
I've never heard of one either. But I don't know that.
Right.
I can't say that, this guy was just high and he's like, you know what? It sounds like a good idea to shoot people. I don't know that, and it's never happened. But it's not as widespread as alcohol, though. Either
I think this is part of the fear that has been placed on certain drugs.
Yes,
yes. If you're talking about heroin, cocaine, crack, all these kinds of things, it changes a person's personality. It changes them and can make them violent. It can make them react in ways that doesn't make sense. I think alcohol is definitely a lot less than that, and I think that marijuana is even actually less than that in the respect of what it does to you, as far as changing your personality, as far as making things that you wouldn't normally do seem to be something that's that you can accomplish, or that you can do. And it's
that is where I did all this just to segue into. That's why I believe laws should be treated or should be made up for things that have happened that are bad. When in the history of mankind even was weed something that killed thousands of people? No. Made somebody so erratic that he went out and slaughtered 50,000 people or 5 people.
He may have slaughtered an entire bag of Doritos.
Exactly.
That's
why are we
what I would see happening.
Why are and that's the reason I did this whole part. I had a whole plan going to the segue. Laws should only prevent you from affecting, and the Constitution says pursuit of happiness.
Right.
You're affecting somebody else's happiness or pursuit of that, I should say, when you drive drunk, when you wreck your car, when you do this, that, and the other thing. Those are illegal acts.
Right.
Weed to my knowledge, and I don't have all the knowledge in the world, weed, to my knowledge, has nothing on that. That is so much more than smoking a joint at home.
It does impair the body. It does impair your reaction times. Oh, yeah. It does, allow you to, basically not care about your, environment around you. Mm-hmm. So it does have ill effects. I'm not trying to say that it doesn't. I'm also trying to say, though, that it does not have the same level of ill effects on the body as alcohol does.
Right.
Alcohol also has basically, for the most part, I know some people will probably challenge this, but for the most part, has zero positive effects on the body. Okay? Now,
I could argue a little bit against that, but we're not in the we're not an alcohol podcast. We're a marijuana podcast.
But marijuana has plenty of positive effects. This is why it's been able to go through many, many states in our country right now as for medical use, because the medical community has recognized this. I know doctors and nurses and people that partake of marijuana, medical marijuana, for their own personal use, because they need that to be able to function, and get through the day. A lot of the things that they see, a lot of military, former military, a lot of the things that you've seen, and have to deal with in your mind on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. And, we call this PTSD, but I think that if we can find something that allows you to be able to function and not have to be constantly thinking about those types of things that have happened to you, or those things that you've seen, or considering what could possibly happen to you in the future. I know I'm one that goes in, when I go into a restaurant or a place of business, I always sit where I can see the door, where I can see the main door, because it's just kind of it's a thing that's been built into me, that I want to know if something bad is going to happen, it's most likely going to come through that door right there. And I want to be able to have my eyes on that door at all times, because I want to be able to react to a bad situation.
That's how I carry a gun.
But these are things that, and that's we're going to have a podcast about that at some point in the future too. But these are things that I think medical marijuana, recreational marijuana, all of this stuff can help people to be able to get past these issues that they have, be able to function in society a lot better. If it's used responsibly, if it's used the way in which it's intended, then it just basically allows you to take the edge off and just be able to survive and be able to live in the society that we live in today.
And I'm glad you brought the veterans up here now, because veterans are extremely well known for not getting help.
Right.
Medical marijuana, you have to have seen a doctor. Now, these veterans are not going to get help. I mean, it is what it is. I'm sorry, and it sucks, and I wish I could help them myself. But people at that level of I want to say just that level of greatness of our country that sacrifice so much for our way of life. They don't want to have help. They feel help is a weakness. So recreationally doing the marijuana will give them the relief from joint pain, the relief from back pain, relief from all pains, not even mental. I mean, he did talk about PTSD, and that may be an available way of getting it.
It allows you to sleep, and that's what's amazing in that respect.
If you don't have back pain or joint pain, sometimes you can sleep really good. It's when I have a lot of pain, but I don't like marijuana, so I'm not going to take it. Whatever. It doesn't matter to me, But there are people,
and that's your decision to make as an adult in our society.
Exactly.
But if I want to do it or if Caleb wants to do it, we should
Yes.
have the availability to be able to make that
Yes.
decision.
Right.
As an adult, I should make the decisions for me, okay? Not our government, not anyone else around me. I'm 44 years old, and if I can't make
You're
decisions for myself, then I will have to beat Caleb up.
Yes.
He's just called me old.
And you brought up Caleb because actually, from my understanding, and I haven't researched this exactly, but people over 6'3", 6'4", the taller you get, sometimes the knee pains are even more because
Right.
of height. And
I have enough problems, and I'm 6 foot. I'm not even
Exactly.
I'm not even six. What are you, 6'2" or 6'3"?
6'3".
6'3".
Yeah.
And so
when you
I
get
mean,
taller like that, sometimes older you get, the joints start hurting more.
right.
I was gonna say it doesn't matter about the height. It matters about the weight too.
Yeah,
Weight too.
Weight can
Yeah.
have a lot to do with joint pains and stuff too.
I think and I'm with Paul. I dabbled with it when I was that age, and I didn't like it, so I was like, yep, I'm good. So it's not something I would probably ever would care to do or do ever. So it's no big deal. But it's one of those things where I think if it's out there and it's controlled, it's far more safer
Yes.
than it is with it not being legalized.
Well, not even control. I mean, if you get to have a little bit in your house,
Yeah.
I mean, I can put a still down here and create so much alcohol
Right.
up to a certain point.
Right.
Same thing with weed. I mean,
Well,
if
you
I
can
want for
create
myself,
you can create beer. You
Right.
cannot create liquor.
no, there's
Unless, you
a
can
small
get a license for it.
You don't even have to get a license. It's a minimum. There's very little liquor you can create.
Oh, okay.
Right.
But there's still an amount that
Right.
you're allowed to have for your personal consumption.
But my key takeaway on that is looking at our history. We did prohibition because people were drinking too much, and the government
Right.
wanted to stop the drinking. So what they did was they outlawed liquor sales. What did that do? It brought up moonshining. It brought up bathtub gin. It brought up
Yes.
all this stuff that basically you allowed Jim Bob from down the street to start making it rather than
Yeah.
a brewer who
So
knew
then
what he was doing.
You have no idea what's in that. It's,
Right.
it's the same respect with marijuana. The fact that
You have
when
no
it's
idea what it-
regulated and the producers in that state are
Licensed.
they're licensed. They're inspected
Yep.
by state officials to make sure that the product that they're putting out is pure.
Yep.
It's appropriate. It's not laced with anything else. It doesn't have any other drugs or chemicals involved in it. And you have the ability to choose that. Okay, this farmer right here that cultivates marijuana is doing it completely organically. They're using only this type of soil, this type of water to water. They're only using this type of seed to grow the plant.
Not using pesticides.
Not
or
using
anything.
pesticides, not using chemicals on it. And
Right.
so you're getting a pure product. When you're buying something on the street, you have no idea where that came from, what may have been placed on it, may have been cut in it. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that could be done to those that, we don't know.
Well,
Yeah.
and that's so. This is I hate using references like this, but if you've ever seen the show Breaking Bad, when Walter starts doing the meth lab, like the high scale meth lab that was underneath the laundry, his first lab assistant was Gail Bedecker, who was a chemistry teacher at a college. Straight laced guy, like literally was the perfect nerd type of scientist. And Walter asked him, he said, why are you doing this? And he goes, I feel as an adult, you have the right to choose what you want to do. And I want to make sure my product or whatever the meth I'm making is the purest, cleanest form and not some adulterated nastiness that you don't know what it is.
Not made from Windex cleaner and all this kind of shit that they put in this stuff.
And that's how I'm with alcohol. I know when I buy it from a store shelf, I know what's in it. I know it was made, it is regulated, and it wasn't just some guy mixing, rubbing alcohol with something else,
Right.
And same with if marijuana gets legalized for recreational use, that it's been audited, it's been looked over, and then like you mentioned, if you are someone who wants to be a little more organic, you could probably go to an organic garden or dispensary, or they'll have a different variety at a normal dispensary, and you can get it right from there.
It's like if you go to the normal grocery store now, you can see where it says this is an organic cucumber, this is the regular cucumber that's had the pesticides and stuff. Yeah, the organic's probably a little more expensive, but if that's something that you're really adamant about, is that you want your vegetables to be organic and have no chemicals, no pesticides used on them, then you have that available right there for you. It would be the same way. But what I'm saying is that the control would be there to regulate what is placed in these items, what is available for use for these cultivators. And they would be inspected to make sure that they're actually following the regulations, and if you've got Joe Schmo that's growing marijuana, you have no idea what he's putting on it. He could be pouring bleach into his plants, and then you're smoking that, and you turn around and you die because or they're lacing the marijuana with fentanyl or something like that we've seen happen, on many occasions. So, the regulation, I think, is a very important piece of all of this, to make sure that people are getting pure product, they're getting what they deserve, and what is
and a price that reflects that as well.
Well, and price is something that we can go into, is because
all inflation.
The problem is I see a problem with the biggest problem with legalizing marijuana for recreational purposes is
the government's going to get their cut.
There's going to be a huge inflation in price.
Oh yeah.
It's just supply and demand. There's going to be a huge demand, and there's not going to be as much supply.
Not to start, no.
You're going to end up with, and this goes back to what Paul was talking about earlier with the veterans, and this is the part where it troubles me, is that I think the people that actually do need it are going to be the ones that can't afford it. Right. The veterans that are on the streets that this actually might help them to be able to function as a normal person in society and get over a lot of the issues that they have, but they won't be able to afford it because it'll be too expensive for them.
My last point is the only reason that I have for voting for legalization is to stop sending people to jail. I mean, it's just stupid to send a person to jail for weed.
I was gonna say, didn't President Trump didn't he pardon someone, a lady who was in jail?
Oh, yeah. She was in jail like 25 years or so.
I was going to say, she's supposed to be in jail for 25... She was supposed to be for... It was like a life sentence or something like that. Yeah,
and she was in jail for over like 20 years before he pardoned her.
Right. And there's people that have been in jail for longer for marijuana use
possession.
Or marijuana possession or selling for murders and stuff. People can get manslaughter convictions where they can be in jail
3
for
to 5 years,
5 to 10 years, and then you got somebody who's they got caught selling marijuana 3 times, so now they're in jail for 20 years
because that's triple,
just 3 strikes.
3 strikes, and
that just makes absolutely no sense to me.
No sense.
The crime should reflect the punishment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're out there doing things that are against, I don't know everyone's religious convictions, but I go back to my Christian upbringing in that the 10 Commandments, and says murder, what does it say? Stealing.
You said murder because people say thou shalt not kill. It is not thou shalt not kill. It is thou shalt not murder. Mm-hmm. Because
different translations. So
it's translation.
And
according to Mel Brooks, there were 15 commandments, and then they dropped the tablet, so they only had to go with 10. That was a great movie, but I had to say that in there. So,
Yep.
But I mean, you go back to this is what a lot of laws are based on, is the Ten Commandments. Murder, theft, adultery, things like this are just are just terrible in the eyes of anyone. Not just God, but anyone. And so, when someone commits these crimes, yes, they should be punished for those crimes. But it's not the same. You're punishing people, not on the same scale.
Yes.
And that's what bothers me about a lot of our judicial system.
That's the problem.
And that's what I'm glad that this legislation has placed in it, that these people that have been convicted for marijuana charges are going to be released, and those records will be expunged.
Yes,
and that's great. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's last thing, let's expunge those and get those out of there. Get them people out of jail. If they ain't done anything but weed, let's get them out of jail. That's my biggest thing about this, is just get them out of jail, get them home. They probably have families. They probably have kids.
Right.
Kids are all grown by now.
Probably. Could be. Yeah. Could not be. Could be. You're only in jail 6 months now. Yeah. Get them out of jail and let them go home and see their kids. I mean, having kids myself, I'm an extreme proponent of you need to see your kids.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Don't blame you.
Well, I mean, they're talking about a 10% excise tax on this that is going to go towards. There's money going to the schools. There's money going to bridge and road repairs. There's money going to municipalities and counties.
And the lottery's paying for our schools.
Yeah. The same with the casinos,
Yeah, the casinos paying for our schools. Let's look up that percentage and how much actual money is going to our schools.
If the lottery is paying for everything, then why does our teachers have to buy supplies for kids?
Exactly.
If the lottery is paying for everything,
that lottery has to be.
Okay, back on topic, because there's a lot of roads we could take with government spending here.
Absolutely right. I think we're going to wrap this one up tonight, and just say we all believe that, if not legal, it should not be incarcerated.
Yep.
Yeah, I believe that this should be legalized. It should be allowed for adults to make the decision themselves. It's if you're considered an adult, you should be able to make your own decisions. Yes. Government needs to stay out of a lot of what we do on a daily basis, and allow us to just live our lives the way we want to. And I think this bill allows for people to make that decision themselves. Yeah. And I think that's important. But thank you for listening. Well, that was today's topic. I hope you enjoyed our candid conversation. If you have any comments about our conversation today, please email us at wick.splaining@gmail.com. And even Donnie has something to say.
Like, share, and
subscribe. All right. That's great.
And just to wrap that up, you can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcast. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.